Okay, so welcome back to the channel, and to all of those budding space captains out there, I may just have the game for you today. Have you ever wanted to control every aspect of your mission, shall we say, from building your ship through to leading the charge in combat? Maybe you just want to clone yourself like me. Want to say hey? Hey, and... oh, sorry. So yeah, Genesis Alpha 1 from Team 17, it's here. Do we want to be a part of this crew though is the big question for us today, or are we better off just staying far away from this one? Well, this is going to be available on the PC, the Xbox One and the PS4. Today we're playing on the Xbox One X. Let's take a look and find out. So Genesis Alpha 1 is the latest roguelike here, taking on the space genre. It's not exactly a genre known for its storyline, and this one, it's no different. This is for sure story light. Let's just take a look at this. I can probably do this in a sentence. In Genesis Alpha 1, you're part of the Genesis crew looking for new planets for the human race to inhabit. Done. That's it. There's a few video likes as you do progress, scattered throughout the universe. They go on to present what's known as Tom's story, which just gives you a little bit more context and history to the events. But that's pretty much everything we get. One mission, one task, no further development, and quite frankly it works. That's all you need here. We're not coming to this genre for its story. We're coming in here to explore, to see how long we can survive. You know, as much as I want the video game equivalent of Battlestar Galactica, I can definitely settle for this. Just hand me the keys and let me go make my own adventure. So, gameplay, and this one, it's got a big mix in here. As I've said at the beginning, shipbuilding, resource gathering, first-person exploration, combat, survival, people management. Fortunately, Genesis Alpha 1 does its best with the tutorial, and I'd say it's definitely not perfect, but it's definitely going to get you through the basics, so the rest of your job and just getting started is going to be that little bit easier. Now, as you begin each mission, you get to choose what organisation you're going to be working for. This essentially just determines your starting loadout. Perhaps you're a research vessel with more storage for resources, or maybe you're a weapon organisation where tactical defence is more your thing and you're more developed in that area already. This choice, like the majority of the game, will come down to your playstyle and what you're going to be prioritising to the key to your ongoing survival and eventual genesis. Now, as I say, we have a lot going on here, so let's take a look at these things just separately. Shipbuilding, first of all, for me, was by far the most entertaining element. You can get in there and create to your wildest dreams. Some of mine, quite frankly, looked more like towns than ships capable of flight. It's not just for entertainment here either. You have to create a living, breathing ecosystem. We can't have a crew without a greenhouse for oxygen. Super important. Or we need quarters for them to sleep in as well. And then, while I wish I could just go crazy and start building, you do have to earn what you build. Throughout the game, you're going to be gathering resources for different ship features and expanding as you progress. This is going to be key to your future success. Now that resource gathering, it's tackled with the first person exploration, so let's take a look at that. And this is going to make up probably 80% of your game time, honestly. Everything here begins with resources, so the weapons, the clones, the shipbuilding. No resources, no nothing, so expect to spend a lot of time doing this. Gathering resources, it comes in two forms. You've got your tractor beam for debris in the solar system, and then planetary exploration. Do be careful though, because in both variations, aliens will frequently either come along for the ride with the debris and land on your ship, or you'll be down on a planet with them. They're going to be ready to take you out in a matter of seconds. And yes, that second part you did hear right. There's planetary away missions, but please don't get excited. Just don't. I was excited like you at first, but what this unfortunately comes down to is arena combat in a force field circle. Just tell us you didn't want to develop anymore and you basically just run around gathering resources in one big ass circle, combat the occasional alien, scavenge for any special items. Basically these are crash satellites and I just have to stand by them for X amount of seconds. How can I summarize the combat, the planetary landings? Land, run in a big ass circle for 30 seconds, get back on the ship, repeat. You were so close here and you messed this up. What should have been the excitement for this game, this is the draw of space exploring alien planets. And somehow it's one of the probably most tedious parts of this game. Now when it does come to the gameplay, I have some other problems too. The shipbuilding, I will say, loved it. It's intuitive, like putting together a jigsaw, no problem at all. It did everything I needed to. And for first impressions, it was a strong one. It's just anything first person, and as I say, that's 80% of the game here. It's just all going so well, and then it just starts to crumble. Repetition kicks in. First of all, movement speed, just insanely fast. Maybe it's just me, but this took some getting used to. Then we have general resource collecting. I'm not sure if you could be less involved, quite frankly. It's pretty tedious again, kind of like the combat. Go to the tractor beam, check. Hold a button to scan an object in space, check. Take 2 steps back, go to another monitor, hold another button to beam it up faster, check. Shoot maybe 1 or 2 aliens that come aboard. Occasionally these can be a pain in the ass and really tough, but that's a general summary. Then the combat, now it's not bad, it's just very mediocre. No auto aim or anything fancy, which I actually like. It feels reminiscent of Doom and games of the past. I just never feel very powerful here. It kind of reminds me of that feeling I got with like Fallout 4 and stuff. It's clearly not a core mechanic, but just one of many working parts. The weapons just have no grunt, no weight at all, and the enemies likewise just never feel threatening, quite honestly. You're not battling 2019 AI here, that's for sure. They're just kind of either charging at you or running away from you. There doesn't seem to be any tactics there. Last but not least, let's talk clones. Clones are lives. Gather resources to make more clones, and these clones not only can be assigned to help out around the ship, but if you die, they get promoted and you take over. This features such a unique twist on the multiple life system. I really like this bit. It's not a complaint, but just feedback here. I think it would have been nice if we could customize the way they look. Everyone here is bald and pretty much looks identical, like they walked out of the Matrix farming area. What if I wanted to make them look like me and my friends? The crew from, I know, Fast and Furious, the Spice Girls. Definitely showing my age there. But how entertaining would this have become, really? It's definitely a missed opportunity. It could have been quite a lot of entertainment for us. The game has taken itself very seriously. Okay, so graphics, and first remember this, indie game and it's $29.99. It's not great, but give it a chance. Muddy would be probably a good way to describe this one. Initially, seeing the opening cutscene, the ship moving through space, its retro look, boom, it had me. I'm bored in, I'm ready to explore. Basically, it worked for me immediately. I love that style. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the rest. Shipbuilding is perfectly good again, and it's workable. It does everything it needs to. It's easy to understand for the player, easy to navigate. Nothing amazing, but as sim building goes, I was very happy. It's when we move again to that first person mode that we have problems. It's not that the game looks overly bad, it's simply just mainly the optimization more than anything. I was playing on an Xbox One X, and I feel like this falls somewhere between 720p and 1080. The blur is for sure real, the textures are relatively low, and there's some very generic design in here. Unless grey corridors are your thing, of course, but if that's not the case, then you may think probably the same as me here. I never struggled to understand where I was though, and I will say that, and that's why I say indie game here. It's not the prettiest game I've ever seen, but everything's clear, everything I can make out, I understand what everything's supposed to be, and that's very important in a game when you've got to be very quick. Then one of my favourite things actually, the loading screens, they're littered with these retro movie posters that embody the influences it's proud to attempt to reflect. It's not going for new sci-fi here, this is channeling like the much older stuff like 2001 Space Odyssey, Metropolis, pixelated text, them old school computers that you saw in Blade Runner. Even the general ship builds have a very unique kind of 60s, 70s vibe to them. These guys clearly have taste. Finally, the planets, and I was stoked for these so much, as you can probably tell. I've successfully washed the bad taste of No Man's Sky out of my mouth, though it is improving. And I was ready to place my trust in another game. So as I said at the beginning, tiny areas, force fields. I mean, really, force fields? Just give us invisible walls, we know what they are. Constant popping, clearly reused assets on nearly every single planet I landed on. And basically, you just changed the sky color and that's it. You called it a day. No one's gonna notice. Probably will. What disappointed me most here was this. This is how you were supposed to separate Genesis Alpha 1. This was the ticket to that legendary status. This is where you should have focused. Shipbuilding, it works. Resource gathering and general ship operation, yeah, it can be tedious. It's hard to make that exciting. But if the planet exploration works, you've got a hit here because it makes all of that stuff worth it. It brings the excitement. It brings the thing you're working so hard to get to. Graphically speaking, why not just evolve these areas? Why not maybe change the map size? If you can't do that, just change the shape. Mix up the gameplay with just some different locations, a cave, maybe a building or something of intrigue and value to investigate. Anything instead of just barren. Desert. I live in Arizona, the desert. You're just showing me my home. Desert with rocks and a different coloured sky. Quite frankly, I can put a filter over my window and achieve that now. Okay, so let's talk audio, starting with sound effects. Minimum, nothing exciting, but what we get is well done. I would have loved to have had maybe some different environments and enemies, but it's not the case, unfortunately. What we do get, though, is more than enough. Spaceship creaks, movement, weapons, menu selections, they're pretty futuristic. The only weakness, kind of like the gameplay actually, the guns, they could have done again with a bit more weight. But otherwise, this is a pretty good job. It builds upon the world. I especially enjoyed those more robotic sounds of the ship, and there's a built-in AI who surrounds you, and generally it's very good work. But then, the music and how, yes, I loved it. Now granted, there's not much. For the majority, it's just going to be atmosphere in the background, but just occasionally, just very occasionally, it shines. And when it does, it's everything I could have hoped for. Retro influence in all its glory. I was really impressed. Again, everything in this game starts out so well. Just listen to this intro music. Okay, so the final verdict. Genesis Alpha 1, I wanted to like you so much. What we get though is lots of average gameplay elements in one. The shipbuilding's by far the strongest area, the general ship operation, while repetitive, it works, and the gunplay and planet exploration is just, quite frankly, a huge disappointment. It's just not very exciting at all. Instead of focusing on giving so much, I think they could have worked on specific areas. If this one had more in the way of exploration and areas to dig into, as I said, this would be an easy recommendation for me. But right now, as it stands, it's got a long road ahead of it, I'll be honest. With that today, I'm going to be giving Genesis Alpha 1 on the Xbox One X a 5 out of 10. Let me just say this, it's just average. That's an average score for an average game. But this thing, it has a ton of potential, and I'm confident 1 or 2 patches down the road, this number's going to continue to grow and go up pretty quickly. For me, just focus on that exploration first, and that's what's going to draw the audience in. I'm willing, as I said, to do that repetitive if it gets me to these new strange worlds. I imagine, honestly, running a ship probably is going to be repetitive and monotonous, but the exploration, that's the payoff, and that's right now what you're missing. You've got everything we need to get started, but where's the payoff? Where's the catch? I'm truly excited to see where this one goes though, where it takes us, but right now, I'm not sure it's gonna be for everyone other than those real die-hard fans of the roguelike world. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe, hit like, it truly is appreciated. And thank you so much for all of the support. We'll see you soon on the next video.